11 Public Safety Committee to order, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of I guess it was May meeting,
May 23rd.
May 23rd. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Got a motion, and is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. First on the agenda tonight is the OSHA report, and I think it's on your desk.
Good evening.
Good evening.
As you said, you do have the report there in front of you. On the first page of the report, under the accident frequency for the month, I'm reporting for both May and June. And you'll notice that for the 2 months, there was a total of 38 injuries requiring medical attention. You can see the breakdown there. Underneath that is the accident frequency for the year to date. And there's 131 that were total for the first 6 months of the year. The OSHA recordables were 88, restricted claims were 41, lost days 14, and other recordable 33. The next page shows the graph for the first 6 months. After looking at that graph, what I wanted to do tonight is present the first 6 months worth for you so that you can see where we're at instead of just reporting since we weren't here last month. And so when you go ahead and turn over the next page, you'll notice that for the first 6 months, as I said, we had 131 claims. The total net dollars of incurred for the first 6 months of injuries was $284,655. Of that total incurred, we paid $146,361, and we still have outstanding dollars of $138,284. The next page will break that down.
Is that something that'll, any of those claims be ongoing of those 131, or is that the final number we'll see on the cost of those?
That's just for the first 6 months of this year.
Well,
Obviously,
you've got 131 claims there. That's
yes.
all I'm asking
Now
about. Is that the total for those 131, or can some of those cost more?
You are correct. Some of them could cost more if they go longer than expected or there's additional. Also, if you put a reserve on a claim thinking it's going to cost so much, and if it ends sooner, it may also drop off too. So the reserves is the best guess, if you would, on what you think that claim is going to cost you.
Thank you.
The Board of Education for the first 6 months had a total of 54 claims, and their total dollars incurred were $93,097. The Highway Department has had a total of 4 claims in the first 6 months. Their total claim dollars were $27,684. And then the County General has had a total of 73 claims, and the total incurred there is $163,873. Getting to Commissioner Schaefer's response and question here a few months ago, I went ahead and broke down that County General on the next page, and you can see where that 73 claims for the County General comes in. It's listed in alphabetical order, but just to kind of highlight a couple of things for you. If you'll notice, the Sheriff's Department does have the bulk of the injuries for 43 claims. The next one that comes in is the Correctional Work Center for 16. And then we have Animal Services Paws. What I wanted to bring up to your attention when you look at this is a couple of things on that page. First off, there's been a change in management structure for some of the county's organizations, being that the Sheriff's Department within the last year, the Animal Services Paws has had a change in the management structure, and even to a certain extent within the last year, the Correctional Work Center. So sometimes some of these changes in policies and procedures come through in reporting procedures where things hadn't been reported in the past. They are reported now. Other things were accepted before. New management wants to understand what's going on, so they're being reported much more heavily. Also, if you look at the nature of these organizations that's having those claims, you're talking about law enforcement and Correctional Work Center. Also, one additional thing I wanted to bring out too, last year the Volunteer Fire Department was not in the County General, and now we have the Volunteer Fire Department. They're listed on this page under the Emergency Management Agency. All 3 of those claims are with them, and so last year there were no claims for them, and this year we've got 3. So that's some additional changes in why you see some changes with that also. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Don't you think they need to be out, not be in emergency management, because they're not with emergency management?
I need to get them into a department by themselves, but the way the system is put together right now, I don't have a separate department in the reporting procedures for the volunteer fire department, and I need to get that correct. You are correct,
So
sir.
the reason I say it, because if you look at emergency management, it's got out here, it had 3 claims. It looks like 3 out of the 4 employees had a claim.
I understand, and that's why I made a point of saying that is in the volunteer fire department. So I did want to say.
Through June, the volunteer fire department, the fire department was part of EMA,
Yes, sir, it
is the
was.
way they were, set up to be, so.
Yes, sir. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And when you start to look at that, if I may, I just want, if you take those numbers and you add the injuries for the sheriff department, the work center, and juvenile detention, the nature of those organizations, they total 89% of the claims for county general. And, you know, you can draw whatever conclusions you'd like to there, but being that, I don't want to say economic times and things that are going on, but that may be part of the problem there also. So just make you aware of that. Now, we did meet with the County General Safety Committee. Myself and Tim Street, we have a quarterly meeting that we have with County General Safety Committee members. And we met in this room, and we met on July the 21st, and some of the things we were talking about is what we're talking about right here as far as recent trends. We also noted in that the classification that struck and injured by incidences are the leading cause of injuries when you look at some of that on the first couple pages for the first 6 months. And number 2 was slip, trips, and falls. So we've also asked committee members to address that with their department heads and within their department as far as slip, trips, and falls starting to come back a little bit. Also wanted to make a good note. This year, as far as the Board of Education is concerned, we went through the summer. If you remember, in years past, the Board of Education actually resurfaces the floors of all the schools. They strip them off and put the stripper back down. And a few years ago, we had as many as 12 claims in a period of about a month and a half with the Board of Education. Last year, we started a campaign to correct that, and last year we had 2. And I'm proud to report this year we had no claims from the Board of Education as a result of actually stripping the floors. And so we've been staying on that and got that, so I just want to present that to you also. Last but not least, I included this also, the newsletter from the office. It's called Lifesaver, kind of let you see that, and we've also talked about preventing slip, trips, and falls. We're coming back on that, hitting that again. And I also would like to let you know too, if you haven't heard, the insurance department has been renamed. They now call us the risk management department, and that's addressed in the update part within the header of the newsletter there, and that's to better describe the comprehensive services that the department has been committed to doing. And so we're going to be future, instead of insurance department, it will be the risk management department. Just to kind of let you know that. And then on the back side, we do address the Board of Education of that newsletter. We have a complete list there of things that the department, the Board of Education, Josh Cogley, the safety person for the Board of Education, submits. And we also have our safety award that's presented. We're presenting quarterly to the county employee, county general and highway, and then to the Board of Education. We do it by the semester, and there's 2 of those, and we have the recipients listed on that also in the newsletter, just to make you aware of those things. So that's what we're doing as far as with the OSHA, with the report, and within the risk management department, sir.
Any questions? Entertain a motion if there's no questions.
Motion to approve the report.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you
very much.
Next is the ambulance service report. Long time no see.
Thank
You doing all right tonight, Mike? Doing wonderful. Don't get no better than this.
I do. I don't work days.
All right, whenever you ready.
This is a report for June, which winds up the fiscal year. We made 1,882 calls. Our average response time was 7.6 minutes. There was 28 coroner's calls and 13 autopsies. At that rate, you'll have to put some more money in medical examiner's budget.
Yeah.
We billed $1,442,281, collected $516,078. That put our year-to-date collections at $5,537,661. Have insurance write-offs of $416,270. Collection agency write-offs of $199,771. And county write-offs, a little over $17,000.
How's that new collection agency working out? As far as percentage
It's actually,
of what we had
yeah,
last year?
it's working very well.
Remember last time we talked, it done as advertised.
We're 4 months into it, and we recently had the finance director come out and help us with one little issue we had. We were unable to balance to their numbers, so Lisa helped us change one of their policies, and now we can balance. So.
Very good.
But yeah, but they're doing a good job.
Well, compared to last year at this time,
About 300,000.
Yeah.
Table at the bottom of the page is the operating costs for the ambulances. We drove a total of 36,870 miles, and the significant repairs are listed in the next to last column, and a number of breakdowns are listed in the last column. We had 516 out of zone calls, with the bulk of that going to Manchester Road. We had several in-services and training, committee members and meetings and so forth listed there for you. The REACT is continually busy doing what they did. The SORT team, their missions are listed there at the bottom of the page.
looks like they all been pretty busy.
It's been a busy month. This month's even as busy as it looks like.
Was it a meth lab for the special ops team?
I think we
Would, yeah, you said possible, what did it turn out to be?
yeah, those
Well, the sheriff's department does the meth labs.
Ah.
They're the ones that actually respond and handle all that.
I thought we had a hazmat team out there at Sword.
we do.
But
Well, I
the,
thought-
but the sheriff's department does meth labs.
Sheriff's Department actually does the investigations, but I believe, correct me, Mr. Hooker, if I'm wrong, I believe that comes under the purvey of EMA.
Actually, there's several officers at the SO that are trained for meth lab abatement. They enter the structure and remove the materials, and then the meth lab task force out of that funding comes to remove the products. SORT, every once in a while is called for support of that type of operation.
That's what I thought.
But law enforcement actually does the meth lab, and that's the way it's done across the state. So,
Well, who cleans it up?
They bring in a company, contract company that comes in and cleans it up.
Yeah, the state said something and gave the sheriff's department, or left money, didn't cut it like they were initially going to for meth lab cleanup, I think.
The table on the back of this page just lists the ambulance team to respond to, whenever they respond out of zone. And there's a total of 516 calls that were responded to out of zone. Calls by commissioner districts are listed on the next page. as well as the national calls and the emergency transport team calls. All of those were primarily from MTMC, although Stonecrest had one and VA had one. The next page is year-to-date, which simply means that that was for the fiscal year. Mr. Young's district again led the charge there.
Any meth labs over in that district, Commissioner? Was he a meth lab?
No, I know when there's a meth lab. Meth actually tends to stay out in the rural community and not in the urban areas because of the smell.
I have a 2-3 thank you notes there.
Any questions for Mike?
Did you ever come up with a budget of what it costs the sort team for me?
Give it to the mayor.
Okay, well, I've never seen it, so. I guess he's in, well,
I think you sent him an email.
he's never,
He gave me the email on something we did there.
okay. Is that the, on their calls, on this right here for like the transport, it says 101 calls? Is that what they did for that month?
Mhm.
Okay.
Any more questions? Entertain a motion, there's no questions.
Make a motion to approve.
Got a motion, we have a second.
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. I think you got a budget amendment.
Yeah, this is the way Lisa told us to handle this. We received $20,000 grant through the 911 Emergency Communications District. It actually is state money that they derive from the charge on cell phones, and they funnel that back down to various communication districts, but it can only be used for training. So our share was $20,000, Murfreesboro got $20,000, Sheriff's Department. All the PSAPs got $20,000 each. We didn't spend all of ours, we wanted to carry it over, but she said the proper way to do it was to wait until this year and then bring it over.
You've heard the request, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the request.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second, discussion. Hearing none, call roll.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Key?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. All right, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Next is Paul's report. How you doing now?
Good, thank you, sir.
I think you got the report on the table.
Yes, sir, I think I brought you a book this month. Yes, sir, I brought a report for May, a report for June, and you all had asked me about yearly trends, so I went back in our computer system and brought you some of those as well. The first report that you'll have is for the month of May. We took in 659 animals. Of those animals, and we also had 616 animals that went back out of the shelter. You can see the breakdown of that there. 179 animals were left in the shelter on May 31st, and 2,208 people visited the shelter during that month looking for a lost or new pet. I did add one new thing onto the bottom of that report. I think I indicated to you all in previous meetings that we started using call logs, every call that came into the shelter, and those are turned into me at the end of the day. We had 2,153 calls or voicemails for that month that were returned within the department. On the next page, you'll see that we had 1,091 calls that were received for the month and 1,066 calls that were completed, and we traveled 8,873 miles. With your all's permission, I'll just skip the fiscal date part because we'll get to that over on the next report. The last page that you have on that May part is going to be your rabies and exposure reports for the month. We had 42 bites for the month. 10 of those were tested, and 3 of those came back as positive. One was a skunk. 2 of those were classified as unsatisfactory results, which count as a positive. We had 8 other exposures. 4 of those other exposures were tested, and none of those came back as positive. The next packet that you'll have is for the month of June. We took in 1,047 animals for that month, and you'll see a big spike there from that 659 that we took in May. It's right in the height of our busy season right now. Out of that 1,047, 1,023 of those animals went back out. 212 animals were left in the shelter on June 30th. 2,618 people visited the shelter looking for a new or lost pet. And you can see that the calls and voicemails for that month were 2,548, which was an increase of about 400 from the previous month. You'll see that we had 1,157 calls that were received for the month, and 1,125 calls that were completed, and we traveled a little over 10,000 miles for the month of June. The fiscal fiscal year-to-date report that's attached to this lets you know what we've done for the entire fiscal year since the end of June 30th. We took in 8,208 animals for the year. Out of those, 8,185 went back out, and almost 27,000 people visited the shelter looking for a lost or new pet. We had 14,328 calls for the year, and out of those, 14,364 calls were completed, and we traveled 124,542 miles. The last page of the June report is the rabies exposure and bite report for the month. We had 46 bites for the month. 19 of those were tested with 0 being positive. And we also had 10 other exposures with 7 being tested and 0 positives for the month on those as well.
I've got a question for you on.
Yes, sir.
The call volume that you've got there, when you're getting over 2,000 calls in a month's time.
Right.
I know I have people call me also, not near that call volume, thank God. But how do you prioritize your calls as far as if you've got somebody that's calling you and they've got a dog that's in their yard, you know, maybe going to cause harm, you know, which I would say is pretty much would be kind of an emergency, at least to them, it definitely is.
We tell our folks that they have to do animal control over the phone. They have to try to figure out and ask the appropriate questions when that call is coming in to make sure that the call is assigned the correct priority. Our calls are assigned priorities from 1 to 6, 1 being the highest priority, 6 being the lowest. Most of our calls typically fall in a 5, which would be just a simple dog in my yard, trap calls, sending tags to the veterinarian, those type calls. You get on up into a 4, those are going to be calls that need to be handled today. It's not an emergency that requires somebody right then, but a call that we want an officer out there today to take care of. Your priority 3 calls are going to be your bites, they're going to be your cruelties, your neglects, aggressive animals, police assist, those type things. Very rarely do we have a 1 or 2. That's where everything stops, everything goes there for those calls. I think we've only had 1 priority 1, and I think 1 priority 2 since I've been there.
And what would that entail? What kind
an
of
animal
problem?
that's out there attacking someone right then, and we have to get somebody there as quickly as possible to take care of that situation.
Okay.
Typically, like I said, everything's going to fall into a 5. Probably 20 to 25% of your calls are going to fall into a 3 or 4.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in your budget, don't I know the city of Murfreesboro gives money to
Correct.
falls. Do any of the other municipalities?
Yes, sir. The city of Murfreesboro gives money, the town of Smyrna does, and the town of Laverne. And actually, we just had a meeting that Commissioner Schaefer was at, I guess it was about 3 weeks ago. Laverne increased their $6,000. They went from $15,000 to $21,000.
That's
So that
awesome.
was something we've been asking for well before my time, and they finally
Yeah,
stepped
that's-
up to the plate on that.
It's nice to see the cities throw in, even though those residents are already paying their part for paws. It's nice to see that they throw in extra to help out.
Well,
keep
we
animal
assist
control.
we assist all of the police departments within those jurisdictions. They have the ability to call us on call. They're sent a on-call sheet every week. So they utilize us quite often. So yes, it does help.
Good deal.
Are you also, your intakes, do you get any kind of information on what area of the county these animals are coming from?
It's broken down by the jurisdiction. On the front of the report, where it has the intakes, and it has a list of our
So you
jurisdictions
got
on
it
there.
by city.
Yes, well,
Or
about as
by
like
land
you
area.
can, what area that is. And then we, I
That's
think
what
you
you
should
showed
still
us
have the
the
map.
map.
I know you had it folded up and stuck in a binder, so we still have the map where you can look at those jurisdictions. The last thing that I have for you, you all had asked me to do some yearly trends. We've only had the communion system since 2007, so those were the numbers that were readily available. So what I've done is I've taken our intakes and our outcomes for every fiscal year, including the one that just ended from 2007 until June the 30th, and broke down so that you can see our intakes during those times. You can see our intakes are actually going down a little bit, which is good. But you can see that kind of our adoption, our reclaim, our euthanasia rate seems to be kind of remaining steady up this year, down the next, and whatnot. And that seems to hold true regardless of whether it's a dog, cat, or what we consider another animal. So you all had asked for that information. Just wanted to provide that to you. I am happy to report they came in today and started busting out part of a wall and installed a door for Dr. Bingham's wing. We're ready to get that going. I know he's ready. We would like to have had it done yesterday. So that is moving. Another thing that we've had is we applied with the state to become a certified animal control agency, which had not been done. They came in and did an inspection last month, and we did pass that, so our agency is now certified as well.
Is there any questions?
I gotta, if there's animal neglect, do y'all actually charge them, or does the sheriff's department do that?
We charge for that.
Y'all charge them?
We're sworn officers with the court. Actually, I've got 2 cases right now that I'm working myself, and then the officers have quite a few going on as well.
Okay, I thought that's the way it was. I
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Hearing none. Is there a motion on the report?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good evening.
You too. Correctional Work Center report.
Yeah, what happened?
How's it going?
How y'all doing?
Good, you doing all right?
Oh, yes.
And I think it's on the desk too.
Yeah. First page is the yearly activity report. And it starts from July of last year to June of this year. Last month, June, average count was 194. You can see the breakdown of male to female ratio. Most of the programs are going good. We lost some programs and just had to re-implement new volunteers, which we're doing now to start up some of the ones that we lost some of the volunteers from doing. There's some new programs that are going great. And at the bottom, if you see there's 3 vehicles with the asterisks next to it, those are the ones that we transferred to solid waste. We didn't have any use for them anymore, and they had a need for them, so we just transferred them to them. You see the DUIs, they're doing pretty good this summer. The second page is the monthly worker report. And based on the work crews going out on a daily basis for June, we'll save the county $146,624.
Let me ask you a question. Not the dates, but there's dates here that's got zeros all the way across. Is that weekend?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Those dates reflect weekends. The only crew that went out on a consistent basis on weekends was the
DUI crew.
DUIs and also the pause. They used to take them on weekends also. The state little pickup, received for May. And that was $2,912.28. And for June, $1,559. Some of that reflects, I think, Mr. Porterfield took some days off for June, and then that was near the end of the fiscal year, so he kind of cut back on his hours also. And the last thing is the minutes of the last meeting. Pretty much discussed contracts with our food service vendor and commissary and all those things. We just discussed how we're gonna move on with those contracts, and also the telephone contract, inmate telephone system.
Is there any, go ahead. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I was just, the state gives you X amount per year for litter pickup, right, on the state roads?
Right.
You- In other words, if you keep going or something, you're not gonna get paid after a while.
Yeah, I think they all allotted some, but once again, I was reflect on that. Now, the state highways, DUI people do that, but a lot of other stuff too is solid waste. They just use our inmates to do the pickup, and then they collect the money, and we just reflected on what we actually getting from the state. You know, so, different jobs.
How much does, by contracting out the food and laundry service, how much does that save the county versus if we did it the other way by having officers? There's substantial savings there, isn't it, by doing it that way?
Yes, well, the way we're doing the research, because the vendors have better access, do they buy in bulk, is the produce part of it is where you save the money. And then the labor part, on the most part, they'll hire people and pay them maybe a little bit above minimum wage, so it evens out, and they handle all of that on their end, even.
So they're not your employees, it's just a contracted
Right.
employee working within the facility?
Exactly.
So we don't have to worry about all the overhead cost of that. That's good.
The only other thing we discussed also in the meeting was, there's a program that's been around in a lot of correction facilities. Davidson County is one of them. They deal with the dogs, training dogs, and also building dog houses. And the reason I looked into the program, I had one of my oldest child, he passed away while she was in college to be a vet, and it just hit my heart one day to maybe try to adopt that program where we can at least build dog houses. The reason, the incentive for it is, if you build a dog house, somebody wants to adopt an animal, it'd be easy for them to get an animal from, say, the shelter, due to them getting one of these dog houses donated to them. So, and there's also, it goes into a little deeper to where we can go into a program where we actually train the dogs, how to break them and all that. But we want to take our time and get into that aspect, because the animals actually stay within the housing areas with the inmates. And it's a successful program. It's been conducted throughout in the past 15 years in corrections. It works. It's great for the animals, great for the inmates. You see, inmates, it gives them a kind of connection to the outer world, plus, having a domestic animal with them. And those animals are usually adopted 99% faster than the other animals in there. So the reason I'm bringing it up is there's a grant right now for this program. Just want to get permission for us to submit the grant. What it does is, if we receive $5,000 for the grant, they want to know at least we have half of that already set aside to supplement it.
Can you do in-kind, work performed or anything like that goes towards the grant, or is it money-wise you have to do?
Right now they're looking at money-wise, just to start it off. So, or it could be $4,000. They can apply, and then they'll just want to, we have half of that, so it'll be $2,000 either way. So, and there's and there's fundraising involvement into also for the program. But like I said, it's a win-win program for everybody, the community, the inmates, the animals. So, there's something I just want to present to the board, to the committee, to see what y'all input was on that.
Just to build the dog houses to start with.
Right, just to build a dog house.
Okay.
This will be an inmate work program inside the facility.
You're asking to apply for a $5,000 grant, and we would have to come up with half of it?
The grant, it depends on what they want to allot us.
Oh,
So they just want to know if they say they can give us 4, if we already have half of it already
okay.
step in on the side to supplement it.
But you would apply up to 5,000, is that what
Right,
it is?
exactly.
Okay.
Have you got the money in your budget to cover that?
We did not, because this grant just came to us, last week was the first we heard of it.
So your board hadn't looked at this yet?
The board knows not about the grant, but I presented this, program to the board, but like I said, we just got information about the grant.
When's the grant gotta be filed?
It has to be in about August, I believe it's the 1st.
Is there enough time for that to go to budget and everything? Or, I guess that would have to go to budget afterwards, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But we could, budget, you can always, even if the grant is awarded, you could choose not to accept it.
Yeah.
Basically, what you're asking for is the concept right now. to-
Exactly.
To apply for it.
Just
Right,
allow
just
to apply
apply.
for it, and you would have to approve whether or not to accept it.
Will this program, will it be self-sustaining in the future after you get it going?
Oh, definitely.
How so?
Yeah, that's a
Well, with a
fundraiser.
fundraising, exactly,
I
to
mean,
buy the
Are
materials.
you gonna sell the dog houses, or
No,
what's
the doorhouses are donations
that's what-
to paws to give to potential adoptees of the animals. But the way Davidson County, like, they do most of it through fundraising to supplement. And I know this community would, once they get wind of, that project, they'll definitely.
Is the PAWS director, is he aware of this program and the grant?
We talked to them, we haven't had an official meeting, but he's been aware of that. Not the grant though. Like I said, the grant part is brand new to us. We just got one of it literally like last Thursday or Friday.
Well, it costs us $40 to kill an animal, last I heard. Is the PAWS director still here?
No.
Yes,
You know-
$40, yeah, like
A
a
lot cheaper to
donation.
build a doghouse and get them donated. I'll
Right.
make a motion to approve the concept plan.
I'll second.
And then motion and second, if you look back on the paper a while ago, throughout the last years, you're looking at 51 to 45%
That may increase.
euthanization of them. And then well, not even cats, but cats is 86 to 11% that we're euthanizing.
We have a
So-
contract for a year on those, the euthanasia with, no, not the euthanasia, the cremation of them afterwards.
Yeah.
Yes, it gets to be a chunk, doesn't it?
Right.
But I think, to me, what sticks out in my mind is we had something similar to this. It was a totally different program, but with the ambulance service. When we gave them seed money, basically what it was
was
for their paramedics to
Sending
go to school.
sending the EMTs to paramedic school is what it was.
And they've never come back and asked for more money. They were able to go out and work in the community and get money donated and this type thing to keep it to be an ongoing.
All right, we got a motion and a second on the floor.
I have a question.
All right.
His motion was to approve the concept of the program. Does that include applying for the grant?
Yes.
Well, when you first started talking about this, I was of a mind to say no, but there's nothing that you brought to us that you hadn't succeeded at. And I've got a feeling that you may on this, so I hope that you prove that right. So I plan on voting in favor of this.
Thank you.
Is there any more questions? Hearing,
Do you want this to go to budget?
yes.
We really don't have anything to take to budget, well,
But there's no money right now, it's just
No
the
money right
concept,
now.
just for him to go ahead and apply.
and when if they award the grant, then we'll take it to budget.
Yeah. All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. County Fire and Rescue. How's it going?
The first sheet is my June report since we didn't meet at the end of June. We're continuing to have the practicals and written examinations at the, for the Tennessee Fire Commission to allow all the firefighters in Rutherford County to trying to receive certification.
Since y'all been doing that, and you may not know this answer, but how many firefighters in Rutherford County has been able to get certified through the county providing this?
Well, I get the results back on the ones that's in the county fire department, but on the other ones, I don't get those results.
Yeah.
But we're averaging anywhere from 11 to 18 per Saturday we meet. I know a lot of them have passed their hazmat certifications and came back and applying for their firefighter certification. I know quite a few of them have passed, and plus we had 3 from Clarksville Fire Department show up. We get a lot of them from Hendersonville, from all around, and this gives the volunteers the opportunity to come down on the weekend and when it's more convenient for them. But we're showing a lot of interest in it. A lot of different departments around in the county that firefighters are applying for it.
And that program is free to the county too, through the state, through the fire commission.
Yeah, it
It's
doesn't
zero cost.
Doesn't cost a dime, and basically what it does, it just puts Tennessee State certified firefighters in the county. Well, we've also, at this time, have 9 hazmat techs in the volunteer system that we used to was unheard of. So we actually got 9 techs, so that speaks a lot for our hazmat program. And then the next sheet is July, the last month. We just held a fire commission testing date last Saturday. I also attended the Tennessee State, or Tennessee Fire Chiefs Association in Nashville, their annual conference, and I was pleasantly surprised they awarded the most training hours for a department, which was 3,257 hours to the Rutherford County Fire Rescue Department for training hours. Now, what that's also a good reflection on the whole county, because what those hours also reflect is the hours spent teaching the rookie classes, which involves all of the volunteer fire departments. As they send students to those classes, they get credit for those hours too. So that kind of inflates ours, but still it's helping the whole county.
But it speaks well of the entire volunteer fire department throughout the whole county.
Well, that was across the whole state of Tennessee too.
Well, I'm talking about just here in Rutherford County for that right there.
We've also, through the UASC program, we've been able to replace a lot of the fire department's radios that went narrowband cable. And I can't remember what was the total dollar amount that we spent for the UASC radios.
I'd have to go back.
It's in the thousands of dollars. And but a lot of who didn't have radios that were compliable to the new narrowband system, we were able to get that through the UASC grant to replace the volunteer, a lot of the radios, a lot of mobile radios and handheld radios. So where it says program those, we program those and issue those to them. Next 2 sheets, of course, is June and July motor vehicle accident report. The average response time for June was 7.7 minutes. Response time, we had 2 extrications. And then the average response time in July was 5.8. And the only way I can justify that is that you just had a month where a lot of the calls were close to where the stations were located. And sometimes we have to make a trip out to the county line or out toward Eagle, toward the Marshall County line. Our response time is 12, 13 minutes, but that was considerably, had dropped for July. Next sheet is the training hours, showing what each department's training hours are, and then the water report. is structure fires that were confirmed that we turn into the codes department every month. This was through the month of May.
You had two house fires at the same location, two different days?
It must have been, it's a product rekindle. That's out at District 17, Kitwood. And then, of course, the next sheet is the water report training hours for June through June. And then a water report for June, and then also the next sheet is the structure fires we turn into codes department for June.
Tell me one, for example. I'm looking at motor vehicle accident report from July. I'm looking at I-24 eastbound at mile marker 70. Okay? The rescues, that must be, is that Almaville? Is that 15?
For July,
Yeah. It's the,
I-24 eastbound, 70 mile marker.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it got there in 2 minutes?
3 minutes.
Oh, up there, yeah, 2
2
minutes.
mile away.
Yeah, I think the Amble exit is a 70 mile marker.
Yeah, that's Almaville.
And they are about a mile and a half from that exit where their station's located. Right there on 1 mile lane.
Oh, okay, that one. I was thinking they had one on, was on out further out Almaville Road.
They do.
They did, okay.
Yeah, they got one,
Okay.
they got one
Yeah.
that's over close to 840 on Alva
Yeah.
Road, but they're, with the station they run rescue out of is on 1 mile lane right down there,
Okay.
right
Well,
down from the
so-
EMS station.
Okay, all right. I was gonna say, traveling that road to get there in 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's just, well, I mean, if they,
Yeah, well,
if they
I'm
get to over
surprised it wasn't
dispatch,
another one,
yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
No, it's right there on top of
Okay,
it.
yeah, that's right.
I've got a question on the July consolidated fire and water report under MVA with extrication. You've got 5 total. Were you only starting counting those halfway through the year? Is that 5 total for the total year? Are we
Well,
missing some because we didn't start counting them?
They just started putting that on their water report sheet, so we'd know what that is. And you looking at the water report?
Yeah, I was, it's the January through June water report, and it says MVA with extrications. You see where it's kind of, there's not many. I figured we had more than that. I guess you didn't start counting them halfway through the year when we
Yeah.
started.
Because you had mentioned that, and I started
I
trying to
just-
track it.
You know, we've always talked about all these extrications in Rutherford County, and I was on the rescue squad back 10 years ago, and we didn't have that many. And I still don't think to this day we're having 50 extrications. I think we have more structure fires than we do extrications, and that's why I kind of wanted to see that information. I guess it would take a
Yeah,
full
well,
year to.
you do have more structure fires than you have educations, but you actually have more MBA runs than you have structure fires.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of them, you make a run, you may do the ambulance assist, and most time, 90% of the time, it's amazing to me how many calls come out where the cars flip 4 or 5 times or on its side, and the people are out of the vehicle. And so, I mean, it's just a tribute to the safety of seatbelts.
And you're still gonna want them to rescue to respond.
Just an outside case somebody's up on that car. But yes, and Commissioner Schaefer, that, they are very close to that station, so they wouldn't, we're right there on top of it. And that, of course, that helps drop the average response
Yeah.
time too, with little runs like that.
Would you mind giving us an update on the new station out on Midland Foster?
From what I understand, I got an email from from Fosterville,
Yes.
that, I met with, one of the board members, Carl Pease, met with me the other day, and he was, telling me that he wanted to know what the holdup was, and I said that we had gotten the draw out for the, office thing. Of course, when I get that, I forward that on to the chief and for his approval, and I've been waiting on his approval. There's a disagreement, I would say, on a number of restrooms that we have to have in there.
Okay, so we're still at that point. Okay.
Because basically, I don't care what they build as long as it's up to codes.
Right.
So according to how that floor plan is laid out, is up to him, and when I get that, I forward that on to the chief, and when he approves it, I tell Mr. Busey to go ahead and continue. But he's only wanting one restroom, and code says he has to have two. So there's a disagreement on that right
We're
there.
gonna have to go on the side of codes. We're gonna have to design that building and get started, and we're at that point.
So the chief at Fosterville is holding it up.
Well, there's been a little bit of back and forth on really what they want in there and what we think is the appropriate thing to put in there for the long-term good of the building and future use. We don't want to just build something that doesn't have the components in it that should have.
One of the things that's helped us is that they have asked the fire inspector, Carl Pease, to be on the board of directors. And him being a codes man has kind of explained to them why things are done like they're done. So I met with him, he told me he'd have us answer back pretty quick.
Yeah, they won't have they won't have a certificate of occupancy if they don't meet codes.
Well, I've tried to explain it to them. So, I mean, I put the ball in their park.
Soon,
I was just wondering. Hadn't heard in a while.
How are you doing on your staffing? Is it improving or?
Well, on my report, we changed all the fire tones for our department to one tone instead of 3 different tones. And then I give the rescue a different tone, Rescue 7, Rescue 41 different tones. So our response has improved with that. But then again, it's summertime, people are on vacation. I had a captain call me a while ago, said he's fixing to leave town. So, you know, we're suffering like everybody else with manpower issues. We had a structure fire this morning. A home was about 1,300 square feet out off Burnt Knob Road, and of course staffing was an issue. But I did the all-call for the whole county, and that's when we do that. Anybody who's able to respond responds. We got a truck from Walter Hill, which was out of their area, but we had a team of 4 come up, so they made entry, got a good knockdown, and we saved half the structure. Because when ESO got there, it was coming through the garage. Everything was fully involved through the roof. So I thought they did an excellent job and made a good knockdown on it. But I mean, you know, staffing is always going to be an issue, especially in the daytime.
Oh, yeah. And the heat doesn't help either.
And of course, then when you do that, when you got 100-degree heat, you have to automatically dispatch a third arm just for the simple fact in 10 minutes they're done. I mean, they start dehydrating, and the heat is a major factor.
Is Red Cross still sending people out to help you when you got extreme heat like that?
Well, basically, what we got where we rely on ourselves. Sword is very good about coming up, setting up a tent with a water fan, and providing the vests that have ice packs in them to cool the core body temperature down. And then, but most of them are good about carrying their own ice water and keeping water on the truck. But that helps a lot to have rehab, and you just about have to force them to go over there, because they want to get back in there. But you have to watch them real close, because it's dangerous in the heat.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, that's my report, and I have a budget amendment at the end of it.
Is there anything else on the report? Any questions?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried.
Last page is a budget amendment. We had a person that, I guess, let his foot off the clutch and jumped the curb, and it kind of popped the building down there at Station 4. His insurance is paid $11.69, and all I'm requesting for is, I've already went ahead and told them to go ahead and fix the building, but basically what that check will do is just put that back in my line item.
So his insurance paid?
His insurance paid for it, and I'm just bringing it to y'all for y'all to recommend put that back in that line item that's gonna be paid out of, which is building maintenance.
Did he do that voluntarily, or, I mean, if a firefighter crashes a fire truck?
It wasn't a fire truck, it was his
Oh, it was
personal
his
vehicle.
vehicle.
It was his personal vehicle.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Now, what about the fire truck running down on that edge of the door? What about that?
That's been repaired.
Has that been repaired? Does that come out of just maintenance?
Come out of building maintenance.
Now, which building is this that we're talking about?
Station 4, down on West College Street.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was confused on which ones was, because there was 2 things, so.
We got a motion and a second on the floor. Call the roll.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Pease?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Emergency management.
Good evening.
How y'all doing tonight?
Fine, sir. You?
Doing good. How's Roger doing?
I do not have an official report on Roger since 2 weeks ago he became receiving treatment for chemotherapy and radiation on a 6-week schedule, 5 days a week. So I have not heard how he's progressing with that treatment.
I did talk to him. He called the other last week, one day when he was getting ready to go to chemo, and we had that big wreck on 24 blocking it. And he told me in the brief time I talked to him that he'd had one bad day. That's all. He was just wanting to get whether he could get through there on his to go to his treatment. So I didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't stay on the phone, and I didn't keep him on the phone.
Well, all right. Appreciate it.
Busy month. We've been attending a lot of meetings and doing a lot of planning concerns. Outstanding calls out of the roster was a manhunt mutual aid call to Cannon County for several escaped detainees out of the county jail. We went to assist the Sheriff's Department with incident command communications with mobile command.
Is that the one they found them up on the square?
No, they weren't found on the square. They were found in close proximity too, but we kept them contained pretty much in a generalized area through the evening. It was about a 11-hour operation, but both of them were taken into custody without further incident, and it was quite an operation. We had a lot of assets from Rutherford County that responded. There are, I think, probably several dozen officers from the Sheriff's Department that went in association with the U.S. Marshal's Office and Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, several other entities. Went extremely well. Last week we had a MVA with a hazmat involved on I-24 with multiple chemicals involved and some leakage, so we had to treat that with kid gloves. Interstate was shut down for about 6 hours while we
I was
made
trying
entry.
to get names found.
Where's that at?
That was on 24 westbound, just past 840.
Did they come around the off ramp?
No, sir, he was headed westbound towards Nashville. After he crossed under the last overpass, he left the road on the right shoulder. My understanding was he was making a cell phone call.
Okay.
And left the roadside, over adjusted, and it was a tandem truck, and he jackknifed, and the truck separated, and we had hazmat in both trailers and concern on leakage.
I know we've had multiple there in 89 on the roundabouts. We always have a truck 2 or 3 times a year when the load shifts and they flip over and block the whole interstate.
Right.
Those are 2 bad spots at 840 and 89.
Yes, sir. Yeah, pretty habitual in those 2 areas. Still continuing the mitigation process with the 3 house projects for buyout. We're waiting to hear from FEMA, hopefully within the next 4 months or so is what I'm expecting if we're going by the time constraints that they gave us. We're also looking at the EMAP accreditation program, which is the Emergency Management Accreditation Program that is consistent of a UASI project to bring our standard of care and planning mechanisms up to a higher standard of level, which is also why we're looking at continuity of operations. I'll be holding a briefing. This is not in your paperwork. The 18th of next month at my EFC, I'll be doing a briefing on starting to each department within the county to start the planning process to have a continuity of operations plan inclusive of each department so they can be prepared in case of an event where they have to move facilities for any reason. If we have a catastrophic event such as a fire or a storm or whatever the case may be, it's to ensure that we can continue operations and provide services to the citizens of the county if any of our infrastructure is damaged to that extent. So we'll be starting that planning process as well. And that's about it for right now.
Will we be able to, look at this equipment shelter?
Equipment shelter?
Did you get it in?
This is for the tower? Sure, yeah, as soon as when we purchase that and get it established, we will invite everybody up to the site to see the final.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I brought Mr. Gurley with me to give you a report on where we're standing now with Tiger Hill.
Yeah, we've, since we last met, we've completed the zoning. We've got a building permit displayed there. The FAA has been filed and received approval for the FAA. We awarded the bid. The fire tower has been taken down. The top 20 or so feet of the tower and the cab has been retrieved by State Forestry to place on display at Ellington as in part of their museum. So Tiger Hill Fire Tower will continue to exist, just in much shorter form. We expect construction to start within a week to 10 days from now. We're waiting, still a few little things to work out on the equipment shelter. That'll be procured with, through a GSA contract with the company. They have GSA, so we'll be buying it that way. They'll be doing it to our specs. We expect to place that order within the next couple of weeks. Hopefully the equipment shelter and the tower will be completed in about the same time, within the next 90 days or so. And we'll have Tiger Hill up and running. We met with THP this past Friday. They'll be providing and placing the generator there. Be a 50 kW generator that will run for at least 3 days on fuel. Some of you know, if you've been around a long time, you know that the hill can get kind of bad in the wintertime, so it may be a day or two before you can get up there. We did receive some news. As most of you know, we received an Aid to Firefighters grant. Did some checking. We'd been asked to submit the NEPA study, the National Environmental Protection Act study that we did for Tiger Hill site. That was not required because we're building that site out of county money, but it was required for FAA since we have an over 200-foot tower. So we did the NEPA for that. So we did some querying, and they had requested that study, a copy of that study. So I queried them, FEMA, and their answer back is yes, we will have to do an environmental study for each site that we place microwave equipment at. Seems to be, I'm not sure, at a 300-something foot tower like Lynch Hill where a 6-foot dish will make any effect on it, but if we want the money, that's what we've got to do. I've already requested a quote from Terracon to provide those studies.
Who required this? The feds?
Feds.
Yeah, anytime you do a facility modification with federal monies, you have to do an environmental study. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean,
yeah,
we want the money, we got to. So.
And that's what we were pretty much aware of, and we just wanted to clarify it with them, and the answer is yes. So, like I said, we're have the quote request out, waiting that. Should get that back in the next week, and we'll be requesting POs to get those studies done.
Wasn't it about $500,000 worth of federal money we got on that?
I believe, Mr. Mayor, you can correct me, but I believe it's $400,000 from the feds with $100 to be matched by the county.
$100 county money.
And
how much that money is going as far as doing those studies?
Typically around $2,500 per site, so we'll have 4 more sites to do, so about $10,000.
And what will they find?
Nothing.
Since these are existing towers that have been in place from anywhere from 5 to 25 years, nothing.
Rust.
Placing a microwave on one of these towers may cause a carrier pigeon to deviate its path.
Yeah, but it's a requirement of law, so in order to get that other $400,000, we got to spend that 10. So, like I said, we'll be doing that as soon as possible. Get moving on it.
All right. Is there any questions on the report? Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Do we need any type of motion for the environmental study and money, or is there?
Not at this point.
Not at this point.
You ain't got the quotes out yet.
Okay.
That'll come through budget when we do the PO request.
Sometimes they don't use common sense. That's the federal government for you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next on the agenda is the juvenile detention report. How you doing tonight?
Good evening. I have 2 months in front of you and just a couple of articles. You have May and June. I don't think there's anything in the May, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. On the month of June, just points of interest. For the fiscal year, we have collected or billed $266,875 and received the majority of that, and we actually got some of these checks in today, so we'll end up even on our received year to date as well. And if you look at the number of kids that we booked into the facility, plus the kids that we dealt with but released with a court date, it was a little over 1,500 young people that we saw this last fiscal year. I've also included an article that came out with the jail exchange that listed us as one of the top 10 juvenile detention centers in America.
Actually, was it number 4?
Well, they have us listed as number 4, and they included our picture in the article, so we thought that was exciting, so I thought I'd share that with everyone.
Congratulations to you all.
Thank you.
That's good.
And then just as a FYI, I also included an article from Channel 5 regarding mental health beds in Tennessee. And if you had an opportunity to hear that news report or read it on the internet, I just wanted to, one thing that they didn't talk about in the article is that those few beds that they have available now have to be shared between adults and juveniles. So the 660 beds that are available, juveniles fight for those mental health beds alongside of the adults. And I get several questions throughout the year about what can we do to help, what's something that's important that we need to address. And if you ever have an opportunity to talk to anybody that can change anything, mental health beds are one of our top 5s, because it's hard to deal with young people that have mental health needs that don't need to be incarcerated, that need their mental health professionals, but juvenile detention in our particular situation is the safest place for them. So just wanted to let y'all see that article and think about it and share it with any of the elected officials that you have an opportunity to talk with.
Is there any questions? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is carried. Go back, if you would, tell your staff, congratulations on that job well done.
I will do so, thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Next is the Sheriff Department report. How are y'all doing tonight?
Full right there. Yes. Hello, everybody.
Howdy.
That's all I need.
Thank you.
First, I want to say thank you, because I came to the funeral the other day for Mayor Lee Parker. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's start out with the amendments. Welcome to the new budget year. I've tried to create a novel for tonight, so I'll make it quick as possible as I can. The cold case, we're doing a cold case conference at the SO, so we've got monies coming in for that.
So it's under the contributions, but we're gonna, for the line item 1 there, $7,225, we're gonna put that into in-service training, because the in-service training department will be the ones doing the training for the cold case that we're hosting in August. So we're hosting the class. The next one is Miss Mentor, and I can't think of the lady's name. Lisa Marcioni. They won an award for an MTSU for a program they did on gangs, I believe it was. So that $500 award came in. We're going to put that into the jail side, the $499 account. We've gotten contributions in from the Tennessee Foundation for Agriculture, and that's for our garden. So we're going to put that into the $499 account on the jail
Which
side
is
as well.
beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we've gotten several compliments about that. Contributions again for the SCAN program, which is the Senior Citizens Awareness Network. And so we're going to put that into the Sheriff's Office side, $499 for them. And then for our 911 memorial, we've been selling the bricks in $50 and $100 increments. So those have been coming in here pretty regularly now, and so there's $1,550 on that. Page 2 is, let's see, we totaled the car, so the check came in for that, and we're going to put that money into the new vehicles account. The next one's a rollover from last year's budget for come out of undesignated, going into training for the communications department for the dispatch.
Yeah, same thing the ambulance service had did earlier.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The next one, number 8, is where we did the camera system for the jail, and that line item that is coming from is where that line item is funded from. So and we only, and out of 275, we only spent enough that we've got $53,545 left over. So we're requesting those funds to be rolled over to this year's budget so we can still continue to accessorize that camera system. Like we've got a
build it out.
Yeah, continue to build it out because it's a non-proprietary, so we can finish adding and still improving above and beyond that. The next one, the number 9, the reason it's so much is that's the one we've been talking about coming up, where we were saving up for cars. This will buy us 20 cars and outfit them.
This is your leftover money from last year?
Leftover money from last year, yes, sir.
You specifically, I mean, we did that, we talked about it for a while,
Yeah.
saving money to do that.
And we hit up every department there. We told everybody what we were doing. Everybody kind of saved, so nobody went out and blew their budget at the end of the year so we could save up to do this. So everybody's kind of trimmed a little bit. Crown Victorias.
I mean, still 2011, Ford has, this is the last hit. 2011 Ford Crown Vic. Next, after that, we'll have 1 year where we are figuring out what the concepts are, and then it'll be 2013 is where we'll be back asking for patrol vehicles again.
Will you be able to retire some of your older cars through
Yes.
this?
We'll retire some, but, you know, we'll still keep some in. I mean, we've got cars still in the fleet that got 250,000 miles on it, so we'll actually retire those. Hopefully we can get back to some of the, as we could say in the good days, where we had 150,000 miles and we retired them.
How much does a new vehicle equipped cost roughly? And then take out what you can scavenge from an older one?
Well, it's been averaging around 32 apiece. We're going to scavenge what we can. We're basically just going to ask for 20 cars, and that state bid on that will be about $450 total. It'll be $100,000 left over that we're going to get for this to buy equipment with and just go as far as we can go. And then we'll take the rest of it out of this year's budget to do what we can.
Also, Mike Bailey the other day talking about saving money, doing different things. He was able to talk with the guys that down at Alexander, whatever the new company's called, and they found out that they actually had 6 2010 Crown Vics on a lot somewhere. They didn't even know they had. And they were, most of them were halfway outfitted with lights, sirens, and cages and all that. We went ahead and did a purchase order on those. They gave us such a heck of a deal on it. And we figure that we ended up saving the county buying those 6 vehicles, the old vehicles. We saved the county approximately $10,333 is what they sold them for us. And they're already outfitted. We can get those cars. No. This is the total savings. We, total savings on all vehicles. No, I wish. No, we paid $22,280 per vehicle, where we normally pay about $26,000 for the vehicle itself, and then we have to outfit it. These were already outfitted. These were like their demos and stuff like that, but they had no more than 100 miles on them. And so they come with full warranties. Everything's still like as a brand new vehicle, but they were on a back lot somewhere, and they, you know, when Alexander sold out the company, when they did an inventory, they found these vehicles, and they were like, we got to get rid of them quick, since they're already selling 2011s. So they came to us first because we're here in Murfreesboro, and they found them over in Franklin. They shipped them over, told them to get rid of them. They came to us first, said, hey, we got a deal for you. So we jumped on it, and then we got another vehicle today. Alexander basically built a vehicle for a department somewhere without getting a PO on it, and now the department is saying, nope, sorry, we can't buy it. Well, they've put all this money into it, and we're getting the 2011 kind of the same deal because they've got to move it, you know. So it's already built out. I think what it is, put a radio in it, stripe it, and go, because it's got the light bar, cages and all that in it. So we found some deals out there on vehicles.
Okay, line item number 10, which concerns Dr. Rudd. His malpractice insurance has been changed. 10,000 of the 50,000 is to go towards his premium. The new terms of his agreement are that every time a suit is filed, there is a $10,000 deductible per case that is filed. Now, this is probably only a temporary measure for him in that he's still shopping and feels that he'll be able to get better coverage. But this does have him covered, so he is currently covered at this time. So what we're wanting to do is pull the $40,000 to add to his additional premium for now. And then there has been a case filed already, pretty much about a week or two, I think, after he got the policy in. And so Murphy's Law dictates. And so now we have a $10,000 deductible we need to pay for.
And that's what we talked about in the budget last year.
Yes, sir. And so that's what that's for, $50,000.
If he doesn't get new insurance, then this isn't going to last too long, is it? That's for deductibles,
Well,
right?
the 10,000 only covers the one that he's got,
Yeah,
and the 40,000. Well, the 40,000 is only for his insurance. That's for his increase over what he would normally pay. It's for the increased portion, and then the 10,000 is to cover the cases that filed today. And so every time he has another case filed, I'll be back up here again asking for another $10,000.
We've been averaging about 2 a year. And I mean, this has been a huge adjustment for me because in my private career, I've never had one. Since I've been taking care of the inmates, we're at 9.
But
We've never lost.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was going to say,
Yeah.
just so everybody knows.
We've never lost.
We've never lost.
Say it again, we've never lost.
And this one is another one that fits right in the same category. It's like the kind we've defended before. It's a violation of human rights issue that involves no malpractice, but it falls under that category. And we had just found, my previous company said they understood it, they just didn't want to do it anymore. And so we found another company, and then within 2 days of getting the new policy, we got another suit. And I've got this policy good for a year, but I'm going to be doing a lot of looking, and there are a lot of companies out there that do this, but we're covered for a year.
Don't judges take this into no, I guess not. I mean, they don't look at it.
Inmates have a different system under federal law. They basically don't have to have an attorney to represent them. They can do it pro se, and their complaint is shunted directly into federal court. And this goes back to, Supreme Court 1960 judgment that basically allows, they don't want people to be incarcerated and to be abused, and so, which none of us do. But this allows any complaint to be looked at by a federal judge, and at their discretion, either accept or refuse to accept it. And so far, I don't know if we've had any that they didn't want to look at. And then once they say they want to look at it, we have to go into full defense mode, because the insurance company is on the line, and you can't take it for Granted, and even though the case, you know, has no real merit to it, in my view, the judge wants to hear it. And so we have to defend it, and we do. But I'll tell you, you know, that some of the best money we've spent in helping to defend these cases has been the institution of the computer system that we have and the medical record system that we now have, which we've had since we started. That has been such a relief, and, you know, it can show and has shown over and over that we provide really good care. And it's saved us to have that.
Keep going. Okay. Next page, let's see, the other per diem and fees. This is some changes to our current budget line items as required by the Comptroller's Office. So under 5410-199, which is other per diem and fees, we're going to reduce that amount by $27,000, and contracts with private agencies, we're going to reduce that by $25,000. And there are new line items now, the jury and witness expense, which will be our new 194 line item, and the 536 hazardous waste cleanup. We had those amounts there. Okay, next page.
Did we not put the hazardous waste cleanup in the general budget? Or?
Yes, we put it in there, but the Comptroller's Office says we need to put meth cleanup in this certain line item. We need to create a line item.
They wanted to itemize it in a separate line item, so. The next one, when we did when Lisa Nolan broke out and put the payroll items into the sex offender registry, we didn't put any overtime dollars in there. So that's basically what this is for, is to increase the sex offender registry with $3,400 worth of overtime and related benefits. And then we will reduce the sheriff's office overtime and related benefits by the same amount. That's just a accounting transaction, basically. We're almost done. Let's see. The next two items are grant items. It's remaining JAG funds that were not used that do roll forward into the next year according to JAG guidelines. So we'll pull those. Of course, this will be out of the ending fund balance from last year as well. So $30,135 will come out undesignated into data processing equipment, and then $2,125 will go into the 716 line item for law enforcement equipment. And then the last page is the drug control fund, and we are going to move $15,000 out of the maintenance and repair of vehicles and put it into the purchase of a new vehicle for narcotics. And that's it.
Okay, you've heard the request. What's the will?
Got a quick question.
All right.
Items 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, there's that second page.
Yes, sir.
Are all those from, I know part of them are monies that we had left over from last year. I know 7 was. Is all of that money that's coming out of undesignated fund, is this money that's been rolled over from last year?
What's coming out undesignated will be 7.
7, yeah.
9. Let's see, make sure I get them right here. 7, 9, oh, I'm sorry, 7,
6.
10. Well, 8 was in the budget for last year, but it's not technically out of that line item because it's funded differently. So
Right,
7 and 10
that
will.
doesn't count either, so.
And then,
And 6 is a vehicle that was wrecked.
yeah.
And when we normally wreck a vehicle, we get the insurance money, and then
Yeah.
then they match it just so we can replace that vehicle. So that's what that is. Basically, 6 is, we've got $9,966 from insurance, and then the commission matching $9,966 to purchase a new vehicle.
Well, when we take this to budget, I won't be able to
No.
defend it. It's why
But wait a minute.
I'm going
10
over these, so that's.
10 is just flat out of the
Flat out
unassigned fund.
undesignated.
Yes,
It's
flat out
correct.
undesignated.
It has nothing to do with
Where-
the whole budget.
It's not.
Whereas 9 was monies that you
Yes, sir.
designated last year for this project.
Yes.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve these budget transfers.
Okay, we got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Got a second. All right, discussion.
I just want to say that all these that we've just talked about, I mean, even though the monies that everybody's done it tonight with the monies from last year, they have to go into the unassigned fund, I think.
To bring it back out.
Yeah, except the one about the malpractice insurance, but we were well aware of that when it came through last year. I mean,
We knew,
agree-
we knew
yeah,
when.
there was a
the
possibility.
budget process.
Yeah, okay.
Basically, the reason I brought it up is, this is not new money that we're dragging out here in one way. I mean, because this is something from your budget unspent last year that was rolled over, and what our bookkeeping's done, we pull it back out.
Yes, sir. What he's saying is it's July, and we got 11 more months after July to go.
And this is a safer way to do it, because, I mean, you know, Lisa and I talked, we were gonna do this earlier in the year, and then she came over and we sat down, and she felt like it was a better idea to just wait and see what we had left over. I agreed with her, and then, so, you know, it worked out pretty good. We were able to then, I was even able to, at that point, talk to people at the department, get them to kind of curb their expenses a little bit, so we should have enough vehicles to be able to get the guys some new cars.
And Wayton got you a better deal on some of the vehicles.
And yeah, it's worked out pretty good so far.
Came out and saved a little bit of money here.
And we're still gonna shop. I mean, we're still gonna nickel and dime the dealers as much as we can to get every deal we can, so.
All right, anything else?
So will you end up with 27 now, or total 20?
We're planning on buying 20.
Total of 20?
Yeah.
Because you said you had 6, and then there was another one found.
Yeah, because with the budget dollars for this year, we have plans to replace a bunch of other
Mhm.
type of vehicles that we've got that are worn out, in transport van and maintenance trucks and stuff like that. So we have a whole host of things we're trying to get done.
All right, if there's no other questions, call the roll.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes.
Commissioner Petty?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Got another thing, just to make you aware of.
I think before we do this, this is, the report.
Yeah.
It's first month into it, and it's not gonna be a whole lot of changes. Is there a motion on the report?
Motion to approve.
Motion on the report, and there's a second.
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
I just need a minute to read it.
Yeah, in service.
We haven't blown any line items yet.
They haven't spent much money yet.
Most of them are still at 100%, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
For the $3,200,000 that you spent already, that's, I assume, Dr. Rhodes?
Mhm.
All right.
And it's only that we've expensed it on, the monies haven't been appropriated, but they've been issued to a purchase order.
Is everybody ready to vote now? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. All right.
Next thing I've got, just to let you know, giving each one of y'all copies of this letter that I've got, Captain Fitchie back behind me. Sent one to the mayor last week. Do you need one for the sheet?
I'm sorry.
Is basically, you know, we have talked about our dispatch and different things going on with it, and we have got the grant from the 911 board coming, and the mayor and I have met, and we're getting a
Well, the Kimball Company is going to develop for us an RFP.
RFP.
And we're gonna have proposals as soon as we possibly can, so we can have to select replacement equipment for them.
But this basically just lets y'all know that basically we have 3 cards that are out at the jail right now. We cannot talk to Smyrna, the county highway department, and Tennessee Emergency Management, because the cards keep blowing, and so we don't have communication with those 3. So we are slowly dying on the vine.
So the 911 board, they did come up?
They did come up with it, and for the grant, so we just get the RFP, and then we'll be back to talk to y'all some more after the RFP gets here. So I just want to kind of let y'all know what's going on down there with communication. The thing with the cards is we'll buy cards. Naturally, we get them off the internet, different places and all that. But when you plug them in, it'll blow them. Or sometimes we'll buy blown cards because you don't know if they're blown when you get them. And then we're just out that little bit of money for the cards. So But these, when you, in those, and then I call it the nook where you plug it in at, every time you plug something in, it blows it.
Sounds like a good time to try out that mobile command post that we've got sitting over.
Mobile command post worked very well in Canyon County the other day. But unfortunately, it won't let us stay there forever.
If, I know we've got the backup 911 center, but say we don't want to go the backup, you can pull that mobile command post and pull it over there and hook it in somewhere if you need to, or, I mean.
I think the old one, the mobile one, yes, we could
The old
survive off
trailer,
of it,
yeah.
but it's only got an area for one person in there, and naturally, we've got 4 to 6 people at a time running dispatch. You can't have just one person doing it at all times, because as small as that mobile command post is, you can't fit everybody in there to do it.
Well, yeah, y'all are the experts to figure out the contingency plan, so till we can get all the
Till
new
we get
equipment
the-
comes in through the.
I mean, the
grant
contingency plan
monies.
is the 911 building, but naturally, if we're there, and say Murfreesboro goes down, only one place can occupy it at one time, so, you know, that's the thing that we have, and that's what we've all been talking about. So I just wanna let y'all know that we are having issues and problems here. Next thing we have is the county handbook. We have revised the sheriff's office handbook. Since it was approved and adopted by the county commission in 2006, it's had several revisions.
A whole bunch of revisions.
Yeah, it's had a whole bunch of revisions since 2006, and then it was brought to our attention in December that whenever we were dealing with an employee, that the sheriff's office handbook was really under someone else's name, and therefore it might not apply to us. So we adopted it, and then we started revising it, and this is our revisions. And
I basically came up with some notable changes. I went down through there. You know, the document itself has all the notations in there. So, items like the probationary periods changed from 6 to 12 months. One of the big things was the only post-certified deputies can work games, ball games, stuff like that, dances, traffic control. So a lot of that was notated. That was one of the big changes. Another big change in there was the technology use policy was added to it, and the FMLA policy was added in there. Of course, OJI came on the scene a couple of years ago. Y'all haven't had that here. I think it was Workman's Comp before that, and then you switched to OJI. So that policy was then changed. And then other than that, there's just many changes that reference the new administration and some updated effective dates and stuff like that. And then just clerical errors, misspelled words. So I've gone through and we've revamped it. And I probably missed something too, so, you know, it'll be hopefully not changed too much in the future, but, you know, it seems to be a pretty good living document right now, so. So we're making you aware that, that there's a new handbook.
Do you have a copy of it available for the minutes?
There you go.
Have you gone over these with our HR, the county's HR people?
It's all pretty much the same stuff as boilerplate items. What's basically a lot of the differences are there's things in there that pertain specifically to a sheriff's department.
To the sheriff's office.
And that's what makes it different from the county.
So prior to a non-certified officer was working traffic control,
They
ball games?
weren't, but it wasn't spelled out.
Oh, okay.
Just wasn't spelled out.
So we've
Okay.
spelled out some things.
And that changed, what, 3 or 4 years ago where they actually could, before post revamp, wasn't it?
No, actually, the sheriff's office policy has always been non-certified didn't do it. There was some question at one time about non-certified directing traffic, and we got into the issue of if they are properly trained in traffic control, then we would let them. But with this, the way we spelled it out is, you know, that.
Well, let's go back to the patrol, well, I call them patrol moms, but there's dads out there too, but you might.
Well, that's
crossing
why,
guards.
that's why we get into they are properly trained.
Okay.
We train them. So the non-certified can do the traffic control as long as they've been trained in
Right.
traffic control duties. But other than that, they're not allowed to work the high school ball games, MTSU stuff, the
Right.
race, several big things that we have. But there was always that question because it was never spelled out. I remember guys going up and going, hey, I want to work, and them saying, no, well, why can't I? Well, because I say so. Well, it doesn't say I can't here. So we've made sure we've spelled out several different things.
And these are not all changes we've made. These are things that just, since it was last put in front of the commission for approval or whatever, that, you know, these are some changes that I've seen noted in there, so I just kind of brought some.
This handbook, since 2006, every year, even under the previous administration, had been revised, and so we're just revising it again.
Well, a lot of these are the same practices that were implemented before, just now it's in writing.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, and then we've got a clause at the very end of it that says if it's not covered in this handbook, then you can always fall back to the county handbook for that. So we made sure we added that. Talking with Sonia before about different things, but we didn't go over all this handbook with her. Because we know that there are some things we probably didn't cover that are covered in the county handbook.
Mayor?
All of this is pretty much things that only apply to the sheriff's office. I mean, as far as all those items, except the very, very first one, on the 6 months going to 12 months probation, and that extends the probationary period, and, you know, typically that wouldn't be a problem for any of us. I don't know if that raises any issue, Joe, or if you've talked about that. That's the only thing I'd have any concern about.
As far as the county's been concerned, it's always been 12 months. Or at the sheriff's office, it's always been 12 months.
Oh, you've all.
Because we've always had 1 year probation. You could be, you know.
Okay. It's not that long on our piece of the handbook on county general.
There's a lot of different things.
Yeah, well, each office, and that's the thing, is each office, each elected official is allowed to have their own handbook, and that's, and have their own different policies and stuff, so that's where we got ours.
One question I got, I know the county, they did this a few years ago for the county handbook, where all county general employees have to live in Rutherford County. Or if they don't live in Rutherford County, as long as they don't move up in promotion, they don't have to move in, because we have some.
The city did that? Or
No, the county.
Okay.
County, in the county handbook, you have to live within Rutherford County.
Unless,
I believe it's for the department directors.
Department
Directors, I thought it was the actual employees, any new employee.
No.
Well, unless they move up in promotion, they have to.
No.
I think it's department heads maybe, but it's not the peons.
Well, I thought it was the peons. I'll have to go back and look at that. I was almost positive it was any county employee and that people were grandfathered as long as.
No, I can tell you, I know for a fact,
Well, loads of teachers live outside the county.
Well, the board of directors or the board of education and the sheriff's department would be different. It was just county general, that any new county employee had to live within Rutherford County within so many months.
Well, we're still covered under the county general, because that's where we get all of our funding from, is county general.
I thought well, but you're an elected official, so you're technically your county handbook.
He's got some specific things that apply to his department that he can put in there and should put in there. But, I don't believe it's true about the.
It's not, because it's discriminatory. It's discriminatory to be able to force someone where they can't live.
I believe that was fought out at Metro several years ago, because Metro Nashville used to say you had to live in there, and then so many people filed lawsuits, and that's why they got out of there.
Everybody was moving out. That's
Well, another lawsuit that say they can do that, though.
I wonder what just depends. Just depends.
So I guess, we need to approve.
Yeah, I guess I'm learning here. Did I just bring it to you and tell you this is what we're doing, and y'all send it on to the commission and we get a thumbs up and we're good to go? Is the way I understand it, unless y'all tell me I'm doing something wrong, I may have come the wrong committee.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going off memory here. I think what we do is the Public Safety Committee would approve this and send it to the steering committee.
Correct.
To,
handbook changes.
Handbook changes.
Steering committee has all handbook.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we forward this to steering.
Second.
Motion and a second. All right, discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right. So our steering,
Another meeting?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, we gotta steer. At least we got it right the first time.
But they're gonna probably want it highlighted type thing, you know, on a rough draft, you know, where the changes are.
and steering is August
First.
first.
It's gonna be a heck of a meeting.
Next thing is, building.
Oh, yeah, and Mr. Klein is here.
Yes, Mr. Klein,
Talk
we're
about
gonna
our building.
talk about the building
Building options.
projects. Y'all asked us to kind of go out and think about some different options and come back to you, so we did that. But also, I just wanted to just let y'all see real quick, this is our patrol division. This is every deputy we have out on patrol. This is, you know, kind of how the shifts are broke down. So, if you just put that, Mayor, I just wanted to give that to y'all, just to let y'all know how many officers we have out on patrol doing patrol duties and stuff like that. That's our roster of exactly how everything's broken down. So, now with the building project, unless y'all have any questions on that. With the building project, we have kind of gone back and started rethinking this. We've got two different scenarios. We have looked at several buildings around the sheriff's office, or around the New Salem Pike area. Some a little bit farther away in between here in the court, or here in the courthouse and the sheriff's office. And there are several prospects out there of buildings that we could possibly use, adapt, and use as a temporary basis. Like I say, it's putting a Band-Aid on a situation that we have at the sheriff's office where we're out of space. So we've talked with Mr. Klein, but one other thing that we wanted to bring up and just let everyone know, that we kind of ran the numbers looking at the building of the project itself that we were talking about earlier. And we figure it's about a 60-40 split between what would be new money, basically coming out of our pockets, and what would be coming out of the litigation fund. On the sheriff's, on the jail side, 60% of the project roughly would be covered under the litigation fund. The kitchen, the Sally Port, different things that the jail functions. So we just wanted to throw that out there to you, just to kind of put it in y'all's mind that, you know, when it comes to that side, 60% could be funded through that. And we know we definitely need some areas in the kitchen, you know, and some other areas within the jail side itself. So we kind of broke it into two different projects. Doing the jail area and then doing the sheriff's office side, which is the detective area and stuff like that. But then we've, with Mr. Klein, we've looked at several possible buildings, warehouses, stuff like that, that we could convert to use as a temporary space to put possibly SROs, detectives, some of our evidence, like the evidence vault. We can do different things there. So Mr. Klein came here tonight with us to talk about that, and we wanted to bring a discussion to you. We'll go back, kind of figure some other things out. We'll come back next month and talk about this, and then see what the will is about hopefully maybe moving on to another committee or something like that. But Mr. Klein, some of the stuff we talked about the other day, because I know you've got it highlighted and I don't have a copy of it.
Well, the sheriff pretty much kind of explained what we're doing. When we worked with the mayor and Sheriff Arnold and previously Sheriff Jones, we did both an expansion plan, but also part of that was a master plan. And in the master plan was a fairly large, I'm going to call it a metal building, I don't know if it was a metal building, but a separate building that would handle archives, maintenance, equipment storage. There's a lot of stuff that's in temporary wood buildings on the parking lot. Those all need to be brought into a secure area. So that was part of the project. And what we're looking at is evaluating a number of buildings that are on the market right now to see if they could do two things. One, relieve the overcrowding, which the sheriff's office has, get some of those people out and give the people that are left in there more space. You've got some rental space that you're doing, bring that into that building. And then down the road, at what point you decide to do the expansion onto the existing jail, those people could be brought in, and then that building could be used for those permanent, long-term uses such as maintenance, archives, equipment storage, that sort of thing. So we're looking at from both standpoints what seems to make the most sense and what doesn't. And as the sheriff said, we're also looking at, we did a fairly detailed cost estimate of the expansion project, so we're looking at that project and breaking out what items relate to the jail and court functions and what are enforcement functions. Kind of separate that out from that standpoint. So that's kind of the direction we're going, and we're looking at, as I said, both as a short-term solution but also a long-term solution. And how economically can we get into an existing building, which theoretically you could get into in 6 months, and then how much of that can be brought back into the new facility at whatever point that's built, and can it then function for your long-term supplemental, I won't call it annex space, but supplemental space for, like I said, the archives and that sort of thing. Those things that don't necessarily need to be inside the sheriff's office, which is much more expensive space. The jail, and as you can imagine, it's $200 a square foot space. So those functions that can go in $70 square foot space. So that's kind of what we're looking at, and I guess asking for some direction as to taking it, and finessing it and kind of working up some of the details.
Right now, the sheriff's office spends roughly about, let's say, $40,000 a year renting space for detectives and stuff off the property. Also, we've rented other space for other different things. We also, in the old health department, we are using the basement for archives. We've filled up archives with our allotted space, because each department is allowed a certain amount of space at the archives building. Archives has told us that we've used our space, so we had to go find other space. We have a tractor trailer in the back of the property that we have archives in, and then we have other warehouses that we have, detectives have stuff in. So, and then off the property again, we've got detectives in the narcotics, the ICE units, the ACE units, and several other little divisions that we're having to rent space off the property. So we are spending money here and there for different things now.
So basically, if we spend $1 million now, for example, to purchase a piece of property to solve your needs for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years till we can afford to build the $9 million addition to the SO facility. Basically, and then, I mean, we might even be able to turn around and sell that property if need be.
Might.
Or use it for possibly the county garage and county maintenance, and then sell
use
their
it.
properties.
Yeah, you can use it.
You
I mean,
could
once,
utilize it in a
once we
bunch of
do
different
something, yeah,
directions
we can,
there.
it could be used however.
Because
the
we
county
need a
wants.
county garage, not per se what the city of Murfreesboro has, but we need a facility where they can actually pull in a truck and it fit all the way in the building. That's a problem we have now. So, maybe
Yes.
that property could be
Yes.
utilized later on.
It could.
And we're kind of recycling property amongst departments to
Exactly.
solve your problems for now.
Yes. So, I mean, we have several different needs, so that's why we wanted to come to y'all and kind of see what direction y'all were really wanting us to go in. Looking for space, other places, yes, it could be a Band-Aid on our particular issues we have right now, and then once that Band-Aid, once we do something, then that piece of property can be done with whatever, we can turn it over to somebody, we can sell it, it has endless possibilities. But we do have quite a few needs right now.
What they're sort of really asking for is just for this group right now, no approval or authority to really do anything, but just grant permission for the sheriff and Mr. Klein and me even to participate in some more serious review of several properties that might be available and might be workable, and let a plan be developed and let us even take further liberty, possibly to enter some discussions with these owners and see if we could narrow down what we think would be a reasonable value of these properties, and maybe then at that point bring this back to you, coupled with what Mr. Klein would say the cost of improvements, renovations would be along with that, and then see if you would be willing for us to then have authority to actually make an agreement or make a purchase offer on a particular piece of property.
Would this include also, because you were saying some things that don't have to be as secure as others, and this can be off property from where you are now, and can that be permanent, or are we still looking at that for something short term?
I think when they come back with a proposal, you'll have contained therein, you'll have a list of those things that they're suggesting could be located there, and why they can be there, and whether that would be a permanent or a temporary solution that would maybe later have to be fixed. But that's the kind of detail that you'll get from a proposal, and allow them to work through some of the mechanics and some of the details, so that we can arrive at some numbers that are pretty realistic that we think it would take to do this as step one.
A lot of this may be temporary initially, and then what it would be used long-term, because one of the needs the sheriff has is to vacate some space in his building. I mean, that's really the need. So we may move people out that typically you wouldn't separate, but for short-term may be okay, because it'll give them additional space for staff, and then later move those people back, and then something else the building's used for another purpose or for another department.
Well, I think this, I mean, it's gonna have to be handled kind of like this anyway, because a plan of action comes up, and instead of having 4 or 5 people going in 4 or 5 different directions, it's one group of people going in one direction with one common goal, is the way I see it and what I'm hearing. And, I mean, I think it's the best way that we're gonna be able to find what we're gonna need at the best price we're gonna be able to purchase, and put the right people into that building.
Not to mention, we're gonna have to put people outside the sheriff's office. If we ever did do the expansion and complete renovation, you're gonna have the whole sheriff's department somewhere else, so.
Well, no, the way that he originally designed the construction of, if we did the other building.
Move the people in and then.
Well, we were gonna build the new part, everybody would move into that new part, then they'd go through and destroy the old part and then rebuild it the way that it needs to be built. So everybody would move over here and then they'd move back, and it's separate. So, I mean, he had a really good concept on that.
I think we need to move on that concept of looking at all the properties, because you just told me that we're spending $40,000 a year just for detectives to rent somewhere, and then you're running out of archive space. Then the courts require you to keep a lot of evidence. So if we don't move on, we're gonna be paying out more rent. You know, that's what I'm looking at. That rent money we don't get back.
Well, and if we don't come up with this plan of action, we're still gonna be at the same place we're at right now, a year from now, than 2 years from now. And, I mean, there's gotta be a plan put together, and there's gotta be a starting point.
Personally, I think that's what we told y'all to do when we talked about this last time. I mean, I don't see that you need approval. We've already approved you to do exactly what you just got through stating, Mayor. I mean, in my opinion, that's what we did last time. I was looking for, y'all to come in with options and say, hey, here's what we got.
We probably want to focus in, if we can, on maybe a building specific, and maybe even engage in some preliminary discussions at least about a price, and narrow that range of cost down, so that we can bring that back to you and get some actual authority to actually make an offer at some point.
Because I think, going back to when years ago, before Mayor Burtis got here, I know we had authorized Mayor Allen to go look and try to buy the old Memphis Electric building. But then when they go out there and they get looking, and everybody knows you're looking, next thing you know, when the governor starts looking, it shoots through the roof.
Exactly.
I think,
And that's one of the big things for us is we kind of want to narrow it down, and we kind of want to get y'all's permission, you know, talking with the mayor of kind of talking about some type of price, but we don't want to kind of say we're focusing on anything, and we haven't focused in on any one thing yet, because we don't want to see because several people know we have come by and looked at their property, several people have given us tours, so we know what the kind of prices are, we don't want to go back next week and next thing we know, price is doubled. You know, so we're wanting to baby step this.
So are you asking for a motion to allow you to do this, to?
Just endorse the concept.
Yep.
For us to identify maybe a building specific and bring back to you a proposal on how that's going to be used and how many dollars we think we should pay for that building.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All right, discussion.
There's lots out there. I
Oh,
think. It may not all work, but there's lots of places to look at
I'm
least
I'm
right
glad
now.
y'all are finding an alternative to fit your needs, hopefully, and save the
Yeah,
county a little bit
fair.
of money for a little while till we can afford to
Go in
take
another
care of y'all the right way.
All right, is there anybody else, any discussion or questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Still need to work on the sign.
I think we're done.
I think we are done.
I've got a question
Oh,
I'd
yes,
like
sir.
to talk to you about. It's not related to this at all, so anybody wants to take off. You mentioned this, and also Lee May mentioned this. Evidently, you responded to a jailbreak in Woodbury.
Yes, sir.
Are we gonna be reimbursed by the city of Woodbury or Cannon County for our deputies and our time up there, or?
No.
Why are we going to Cannon County?
We were asked for help because they didn't have enough help. They didn't have enough resources for dealing with the situation. The sheriff called and asked me for a couple of deputies, so we sent some, and then other resources were sent that way as well.
I know we have mutual aid agreements between the fire
They're part of
departments.
they're part of
and-
the 16th Judicial District, so they're covered under our district attorney. And we swap back and forth quite a bit on inmates and different things. And we also, the way I looked at it is just being a good neighbor. They need our help, and, you know, if my neighbor comes over and says, I need a cup of sugar, I help him out with a cup of sugar. So that's the way I looked at that.
And if your neighbor doesn't have the money to pay for the sugar, I mean, I wouldn't be accepting things like that myself, or at least not over a long period of time. But I don't understand sending our resources to another county without.
Well, we weren't the only ones. U.S. Marshals, Tennessee Highway Patrol, and other counties responded as
It's
well.
U.S. Marshals and the Highway Patrol, I mean, that's part of their jurisdiction. Cannon County is not part of Rutherford County's jurisdiction. And, you know, you're asking the county taxpayers of Rutherford to, you know, do something for Cannon County, which I don't mind. I mean, like I said, we have mutual aid agreements and things like that with Cannon County to our fire departments, and they also come into our county. But, you know, I just want an explanation of, you know, what's going on there.
Yeah, that's it. He called and asked for help. He needed help. I gave him help.
Well, there's no mutual aid agreements anymore. Tennessee law actually changed a couple of years ago, and there is an actual mutual aid law for the whole state that jurisdictions can overlap and go in other jurisdictions without even having agreements and stuff.
So how much money did it cost us to go to Cannon County?
I don't have a number for you, not much, but the other thing to think about is those guys were probably heading towards Murfreesboro. Do we want to convict, they're actually an alleged murderer running around the streets of Murfreesboro or Rutherford County?
Might have
You know,
been Bivens Hill Road.
That's what he's wondering about.
They had to get past Readable before they made it.
Well, they made it all the way through town just about. So, I mean, they were definitely on our side of the city limits, so
Well, my
it's easier to
concern
head them
is,
off there.
my concern is, you know, us spending our county dollars in another county.
Well, I've voiced this with the ambulance service about them going all over the place for dive stuff here and dive stuff there, and if they're going, I want to check back to the county. I don't want to pay for Sequatchie County having, and I guess that's kind of what he's saying. I don't, like you said, if somebody needs us and we have to, we have to.
But what's going to happen? I'm gonna go the other side here. What's going to happen when we need somebody and we don't go help them? we're gonna be here up the creek at some point. I remember the day of the Good Friday tornado. And I remember Nashville coming, I remember Smyrna coming, I remember, people from other counties coming to help us when we weren't allowed to go outside the city limits to other counties before. Chief, you know exactly, Joe, when we worked for the city of Murfreesboro, we weren't allowed to go, but people come to help us. It's about helping each other when it comes in time of need. I gotta disagree on that.
Well, we've had several incidences where TEMA has called us, and that's probably where the call with the dive team. But TEMA called us not too long ago to go down and help out the Hamilton County when they had the tornadoes, that they had needed search and rescue dogs, they needed some of our resources.
And I have no problem with helping anybody if it's an emergency. But if a county, 2 or 3 counties over, can't afford their own dive team, they need to compensate our county for going and solving their dive, because that's not an emergency. And that's where I argue on that. If it's an emergency, send everybody, or send everybody and still protect us. I don't have a problem with that at all. I just don't want to be conducting investigations in East Tennessee or West Tennessee that we have no part of, and we're not getting reimbursed, and it's not an emergency. If it's an emergency, send the house. But if it's not an emergency, and that's what my argument was I thought we were going out of county for, not the sheriff's office, but other departments were going out of county for stuff that wasn't emergencies. And that's where
Well,
I argue
before
on
that, we were over in Coffee County. TBI called us over there.
In a lot of these instances, we do get reimbursed.
Yes,
What
we
I'm
do.
saying in this instance, why don't we say very nicely, hey buddy, you know, we sent you these officers, here's what it costs the county, how about reimbursing us for this
I
amount?
honestly don't think that they have it in their budget.
Well, I don't honestly know that we got it in ours,
I understand, but,
but I don't think it's gonna hurt to ask. The answer's always no if you don't ask.
that's true. That is true.
we house a lot of folks prisoners
I
from
ask
other
y'all a lot of
counties in
things.
juvenile detention.
Well,
Yes,
when
we do have a lot
when
of
we
that.
accept grant money, like through this UASC and things in the past, I mean, we're accepting that money and we're telling them at that time that we're gonna be able to respond mutual aid to other jurisdictions. And, you know, we bought that money through the,
And speaking of that, we've got a vehicle coming through the UASC, that, is about a $350,000 vehicle that we're getting. And part of that agreement is, once we get it, that we will send that vehicle wherever it is needed throughout the UASC, the counties that are in the UASC. And we'll send the operators to operate that piece of equipment whenever those other agencies
I
need it.
understand that. Is that USC grant also paid for these deputies?
It paid for some of the equipment that the FAST team has. It paid for a lot of the equipment.
And like I said, I don't have a problem with providing mutual aid, but I don't want to provide primary aid to a neighboring department that doesn't have that service because they can't afford it. You know, if they can afford it, and, you know, I don't want to be the Middle Tennessee dive team, for example. I want to be the Rutherford County dive team. And if somebody needs us for an emergency, and I'm just using that as an example because it's hard for me to relate it to law enforcement, because a lot of stuff y'all do could be emergency, could not. Natural disasters are obviously emergencies.
but Matt, you, of all people, you ought to know by going ahead and getting grants, what the requirements are to be able to go do mutual aid.
You don't have to provide it.
Well, I also know that Cannon County hasn't asked for tax increases in several years, whereas that they asked for those tax increases for manpower.
Well, I can tell you, I know that the
that
sheriff
they are this
asked
time.
for
but-
several new deputies in his budget, and it was completely cut out. And that's kind of one reason why those guys got out, because there was not an officer watching them. So they were able to slip through the fence, and some of the stuff, the way they built that facility wasn't, you know.
Yeah, you brought up another good point, is that, we are in the 16th Judicial District, which includes Cannon County. My understanding, if the DA department over there asks for
If
you
the
to go,
attorney tells me to
You
go,
go.
I gotta
you
go.
gotta go.
Yeah, so,
That's
Did
what
the
I,
district attorney tell you to go?
no, he did not call me. The mayor, or the sheriff called me.
Like you said, something like that, they're probably heading here, so it's probably a good thing. So stop them before they get
Yeah,
here.
I'd rather catch them over there and
Exactly
let
right.
them deal with them, and especially all the medical bills that they had.
Well, that
Yeah.
may get transported back to
They
their
get
jail and
back-
not back
yes.
to our jail, so.
Exactly.
Maybe next time let them go a little longer, maybe harass a little.